Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 12th of August, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar index. It's edging higher all the time. We're just seeing a little bit of faltering today, but the reality is we are testing this resistance level, and that's consistent with this higher low and potentially waiting for the higher high. That means, of course, that the euro is sinking lower, recovering a little bit this morning, but still bearish on the medium and short-term time frames. This is my long-term weekly, my medium-term daily, and my short-term 60-minute chart. Looking at sterling, we're seeing here that we are also lower, so that's interesting that we've seen that jump against the dollar, but we are still bearish on those medium and short-term charts. Sterling against the euro is looking stronger, holding that 118 level, just been climbing gradually all the time and making a new 12-month high. So that's quite significant, actually now 15 months high, so quite significant there. Bitcoin falling back to $45,000, but still bullish on all three time frames. That cross of the cloud quite key on the daily. Looking at the S&P 500 index, we're up last night by 0.25%. So markets continuing to edge higher. We've got targets to the upside on all the charts here. So there's no sign of equities falling at the moment. And looking at the futures, we're very little change on the S&P and the Nasdaq future today. So our call is that the markets will open flat in the US. VIX volatility is sitting steady at 16. The fear index below 16. We are seeing here that ultimately markets are taking sentiment in their stride. Looking at the FTSE future up to 0.2% this morning. The DAX in Germany little changed. Markets very quiet the month of August, or normally a quiet month in Europe. Japan was virtually unchanged, and we're seeing the Hang Seng was down 0.7%. So it hasn't really recovered from the dive that we saw last month, so still bearish on that medium-term chart, maybe finding some support on the longer-term chart. And the Aussie market, sorry, the Sensex was up 0.5%, and the Aussie market also up very slightly, but holding on. Taking a look at soft commodities, we've got coffee, little change this morning. We've got sugar up 0.4% and wheat up 0.2%. Still looking like a recovery there and bullish on all three time frames with long-term upside targets. Gold has suffered this last week. It fell away quite substantially on the start of the week. We are seeing now a bit of a bounce and recovery, so edging higher back into short-term bullish territory and gradually gaining. Silver fell even further and is not yet into bullish territory, so that is a concern there. What was a triangle pattern now looking more and more like a flag pattern, which means it could go on for longer. Also, we saw platinum and palladium also falling away, but now recovering as well. Taking a look at US 10-year yield sitting at 1.34%. We were as low as 1.13% last week, so we've really recovered there. Looking like the long-term bond yield is actually finding support on the cloud before recovering. And of course, if we see a higher high, that will be very significant for bond yields and in the inflation outlook. Looking at the energy mix now, we've got Brent crude. While we're waiting, good that we found support on the daily chart here. Worrying that we didn't make a new high, so that's a lower high, and prices starting to come through the cloud. The cloud could start to provide some resistance. If we see the lagging line fall below that level, that will be significant. We'll be through the cloud. The 60-minute chart, my shorter-term chart, is looking more bullish though. So medium term, just cautious, but short term, we are seeing a recovery. The long-term targets mixed. The 60-minute target's not so clear, and the 1 minute's the very short term target's nothing there to play for either. So a very hard call on crude oil at the moment. US nat gas holding $4. Gas prices globally still holding pretty strong. We are just short-term bearish there. We have got some downside potential on the targets, but for the moment looking strong. And on the daily, we've got a massive target if we see new highs at $4.60. This is the Asian gas, the around Korea LNG price, and we're seeing here the current contract is really rocketing there as well. Coal holding the $100 mark, looking bullish all the time. Emissions sitting at 57, just struggling to make a new high, but this is looking like a long consolidation before we run again on emissions, so that's going to be pretty key. Looking at gas prices, we see UK gas is down 1.3% this morning, but the charts are incredible for gas. And if we look at TTF, Dutch gas, also just strong on all timeframes there. Taking a look at German power, holding 82 euros, the breakthrough 80. Our power report was out this week to clients. We're seeing a lot of upside potential there on the power markets. That's pretty good. And we were bullish this week for Nordic power, and we're seeing that bullish run continue, up nearly 1% and up nearly 2% on the quarterly contract. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.